Hello everybody, this is AJ, the Movie Owl, back again for the next part of my Punisher complete collection walkthrough series. Yes, so we left off looking at the Marvel Max run, started by Garth Ennis, finished up by Jason Aaron. That was his name, yeah. A very good series. Very much worth looking at. A great jumping on point for anyone interested in reading the adventures of Franken-castle and co. Not that there's many co, but yeah. So moving on from that into the next era. Well, actually, I'll tell you what. First off, I'm going to share with you a small 6-issue series under the Marvel Knights banner that Garth Ennis and Steve Dillon came back to write and draw. And that was Marvel Comics Punisher Warzone. Like I said, it was a small 6-issue mini-series, but it's actually plays like a sequel to Garth Ennis's first Marvel Knights run, the 12-issue maxi series, Welcome Back Frank, the one that I showed or read it. I showed a few pages. I read an extract from it where he mentioned about the angel stuff in the episode before. So anyway, this series saw the return of a villain called Nuki, or spelt Gnucci. Nuki, who was like a crime boss. She was left, last time we saw her, she was left with no arms and legs. Yeah, like I said, sort of Sixth Sense of humour. So this series saw the return of her. So anyway, so that's issue 1 of a 6-part mini-series. That being issue 2. Issue 3, issue 4, issue 5, and last but not least, issue 6. To be honest, I can't really remember too much about the story within. Yes, so anyway, I thought I'd show that because I'm not entirely sure when it came out in conjunction with Marvel Max, whether it came out during that run or after, but it is like a continuation of that series, so I thought I'd share that with you. So after the Marvel Max stuff, the Punisher saw his return into the mainstream 616 Marvel Universe in quite a big way, because at the time there was a storyline that just started that you may recognise the title of, called Civil War. Yes, this is the storyline that Captain America 3, Captain America Civil War, was loosely based upon. Now there was a lot more. It is bigger and different than the film, but that's where the title would come from. The MCU movies at this point were heavily influenced by runs on the comic series. Case in point was The Winter Soldier. Ed Brubaker, a writer called Ed Brubaker, a brilliant comic book writer, had written the Captain America comic at that point and created The Winter Soldier. He'd done the impossible and brought back a character that everyone thought would be impossible to bring back, that being Bucky Barnes. And then not too long later it was announced as a film. So when Civil War was announced as a film, everyone was, really excited because of this story run that had started here. So what came next was another volume of the Punisher War Journal, issue 1, which saw Franken-castle heavily involved in the events of Marvel Civil War. Also at this point, you will notice that there are a lot of variant covers. Marvel, a lot of companies had started the sort of run of, or let's do variant covers to make more money. You will see that played upon heavily in these series. So anyway, so that's issue 1 of Civil War, or Punisher War Journal Civil War. That is another copy of issue 1, different cover, obviously. These were written by Matt Fraction. That's another issue 1. Yep, black and white. I would assume off the top of my head that that's a second printing. I don't know if it was... Have a look at the interior. And I'll show you the kind of art that we're looking at in this sort of series. Well, this was actually a black and white version of the comic. That's the sort of art that you get in big bulked up version of the Punisher. Also in these books you saw Franken-castle sort of interacting with a lot more of the MCU villain cast of villains that the comics have. So yes, so that's the black and white version of issue 1. The art is fine. That's issue 2. Captain America there, obviously. And another version of issue 2. Another alternate cover, variant cover. Moving on to issue 3. Again, Captain America's fist there, punching Franken-castle. Captain America is a great character. I like that character. There's not many times that he's actually appeared with the Punisher. There was an issue of Captain America, I do have it, I might show it in one of my other videos, where he met up with Franken-castle, and then there was a 2-issue prestige format series that I do have, but it's in the lot that's boxed away, and this came from years back. I believe it's called Blood and Glory. Now, the relationship dynamic between the two characters at that point was really good, because they actually got along. They actually obviously Franken-castle had a respect for Steve Rogers, being that Franken-castle has a military background, and Steve Rogers being a captain and whatnot. And even though Steve Rogers doesn't agree with the tactics of Franken-castle, he understood what Franken-castle was doing and why, and understood the war that Frank had started on crime. So their relationship dynamic was actually really interesting. So it's nice when these two characters come together, which I think this is actually the 3rd occasion. Anyway, I digress, but there you go. That's issue 4 of the Punisher War Journal. Issue 5. Issue 6. Issue 7. And a variant of issue 7, where Punisher is in this Captain America style outfit. I don't recall, let me have a look inside. I don't recall the reasons behind that. There's a lot going on in the comics at this point, and you'll see exactly what I mean. There's a German guy that he ends up fighting. Let's see if I can find an image for you. Yeah, sort of in a very Captain America-esque style outfit. I don't know the reasoning why Franken-castle dressed up in such an outfit. It's not, you know, yeah, it's, I don't know, I don't like it. You know, why would Frank dress like that? Yeah, but there you go. It's just a comic book. A few issues where he's wearing this silly outfit, more sort of hero-y style outfit. That was issue 10, sorry. Issue 11, Winter Soldier, obviously. Now, when we get to issue 12, we come to a storyline called World War Hulk. Again, a very good storyline whereby a bit of background is that the Hulk, Bruce Banner the Hulk, is lied to by a group called the Illuminati, who's made up of high-ranking heroes, Doctor Strange, Professor X, Namor, Reed Richards, among others. And there's a satellite that's going to crash on Earth, and Bruce Banner's told that he's the only one who can prevent it. They got to send him up in a ship, and it's a Hydra satellite. When Banner gets up there, he finds out that it's actually a SHIELD owned satellite. He does prevent it from crashing, but in turn the heroes decide to fling him off into space. They found another world for him to go and live on. It's a planet with no living creatures on it as such, as in hostile living creatures. It's a planet that he can go to. He can live and be in peace, which is obviously what Bruce Banner. It's something that Bruce Banner would like to get for, but he's double crossed by the heroes and flung off, which then leads us into a storyline called Planet Hulk, which the movie Thor Ragnarok lifts from. Obviously Thor Ragnarok lifts from the Ragnarok storyline from Thor, but also lifts from the story Planet Hulk, which is, as the Hulk's on his way to this planet, something occurs in space and it deviates him off course. Crash lands on another planet, where he's used in gladiatorial games to fight. To fight basically. Obviously the stuff in the movie Thor Ragnarok with the Grandmaster and the arena, that's all based upon this stuff. So again, I digress. So you can see how at this point the MCU movies are taken from stuff that's happening in the comics, which is great because these are really good storylines worth checking out. So this was a crossover with the World War Hulk stuff. World War Hulk, was the Hulk's return. He managed to get back to Earth, and he was angry and decided to hunt down the heroes that had double-crossed him and sent him off. So that was issue 12. I've also then got an alternate issue 12, which is a World War Hulk again, but it's a Marvel Zombies a tie-in, which was a very good series. I won't go into discussion about that, but again, that's a series worth picking up. You got issue 13, again, using Spider-Man. You got Rhino. Issue 14 has Craven. At this point, because I don't know if they felt that the Punisher had been away for too long out of the 616 MCU world, that they had to have him cross over with just tons and tons of characters. Sorry, this is issue 16. My eyes were playing me up there. Issue 16. Issue 17, which starts leading. Well, you got the start of Secret Invasion coming up. A storyline called Secret Invasion. Again, I believe that's been planned as a MCU, a Disney Plus TV series. So interesting. And then we've got issue 18. As you can see, at this point in Marvel's comic runs is 2008. So Iron Man is just about to be released in the cinemas. Yes. This is issue 19. Hulk, about to be released. Advertised at the top, see? And I've got another issue 19. Now they're the same, you might say. See the difference? The boy in the Punisher outfit In one he's normal looking, and the other he's a Skrull. And that's what Secret Invasion was about. Skrulls taking over people within the MCU. Yes, so then you got issue 20. Issue 21. 22. Still written by Matt Fraction. Issue 23. With the Secret Invasion stuff. That will, yeah, you will hear about that. An alternate cover of issue 23 when they decided to do 8 versions of characters on the covers for some obscure reason. I can't remember why they done that, but there you have it. Issue 24. Issue 25, which is actually a Secret Invasion crossover, hence why you have Franken-castle battling Skrulls on the cover. And the final issue being issue 26. Now, you might be saying, well, why'd they cancel it at 26? They didn't. This is what started to annoy me about Marvel now, is that at this point, yeah, the series was cancelled, but if you go to the back page of this, next month, The Punisher. Yes, so a month apart, you've got another new series starting. So that's the final issue of that run of War Journal. Obviously, like I said, taking us into an interesting run called Dark Reign. Now, again, you'll notice a lot of heroes and characters in this, much like before. So, issue 1 of Dark Reign is as such. Now, Dark Reign was a storyline where Norman Osborn took over like Security Council and started using villains to police places and stuff like that. This cover shows Franken-castle. It's in homage to that Amazing Spider-Man 129, which has Franken-castle on the cover with Spider-Man in his sights. So that's issue 1. And a variant edition of issue 1 where they changed the character within, Norman Osborn, the Green Goblin. And believe it or not, another issue 1, black and white. Yep. And another issue 1. There's a lot of variant covers. His mission, kill Norman Osborn. Let me open that up. We'll have a quick look at the art, shall we? See what sort of... yeah, it's... I don't know. It's alright. I suppose... you got the Sentry. You got the Punisher. Sentry was a pretty relatively new character at this point. A very powerful one. Most powerful character in the Marvel Universe. He'd sort of came out of nowhere, a brand new character that then they wrote a history for him that he had actually been about forever, if I recall. Anyway, sorry, that was the last of issue 1. Now, issue 2, in homage to one of the other early Punisher covers from the miniseries. And a variant cover for issue 2. They look the same, but the target at the back, that's Doctor Doom, and the one on this issue is made to look like Green Goblin, comic version of Green Goblin. Yes, so 2 covers for issue 2 there. And a second printing variant for issue 2. Yeah. It's yeah. So then you've got issue 3 with Punisher and Green Goblin behind him. And another issue 3 variant cover with a difference. That doesn't really bother me. And then you have issue 4. Again, homage to one of the original covers in the 5-issue miniseries by Mike Zeck and that I showed. And a variant cover. This cover has Norman Osborn in the window. This cover has a villain called the Hood in the window. Yeah, it's a money-making scheme. You know, you ain't got to change much. So then you're on to issue 5. This is in homage to a Daredevil cover, if I'm not mistaken. Guest star in the Punisher. And a variant to issue 5. The Hood, Green Goblin. Anyway, moving on to issue 6. Issue 7, Jigsaw. You can see. Issue 8. And a variant cover to issue 8. All the Marvel characters, all the series, sorry, Marvel comic series was given a variant cover in this style with the border, with all the heroes around and their respective character for that issue, that series, in the box inside. Then we move on to issue 9. And 10. And then a variant for issue 10. Yeah, strange cover, isn't it? Sort of Frankenstein. Yeah, we'll get into that. Then for some reason I have... I know why. Then I have issue 1 of this series is annual, thrown in the middle. Probably because that's where it's... chronologically, that's where the story is based, because the variant cover then has another sort of very Frankenstein-esque Punisher, tubes coming out of him on a table. Then, so it gets quite confusing. I have the Punisher, Dark Reign, The List. Nice cover. John Romita Jr., we've discussed him before. Great comic book artist. This here isn't Wolverine, it's Daken, the son of Wolverine in the comics. Now I will show you the end of this because it is relevant to what comes next. If you bear with me. Aha. Okay, so the Punisher basically gets into a big fight with Daken, Wolverine's son, who Norman Osborn, has sent to dispatch of him, if I recall. And as you can see, there's a lot of bloodshed. And then it leads with the Punisher being sliced apart. Literally decapitated, arms sliced into bits. Like so. You can see that. He gets basically as Norman Osborn in the Iron Patriot suit, which you would recognise from the movie Iron Man 2. Now the Iron Patriot suit was actually worn by Norman Osborn in the comics, not by James Rhodes. He took up the mantle in an Iron Man suit. But I digress. So Franken-castle ends up being sliced into hundreds of bits. That's his body in a pile on the ground. A good lie. So his body is found by these underground critters. Because obviously in the comics there is a world below the New York where monsters League of Monsters actually live. That being the Swamp Thing. No, Man-Thing. Swamp Thing is the DC character. Man-Thing is Marvel's version. So, I digress slightly there. So, we jumped from issue 10 to the annual to part 1 of, a one-shot called Dark Reign, The List. So that was issue 1 of that. So only a one issue, and that's a variant cover, Steve Dillon art. That's Dakin. He looks like Wolverine, yes, but as you can see, he's only got 2 claws there, and tattoos on his arms. Now, this leads into a controversial storyline for the character of Franken-castle, called Franken-castle, Frankenstein. So the Punisher, Franken-castle, is found by these creatures in the sewers. They bring him back as this monstrosity, because essentially he's one of the monsters. So I don't mean that in a bad way. Now, obviously, you've heard my feelings on the demon storyline. So when you heard that this was going to happen, it was much the same sort of a thing that went on, and people were a bit... Now, I've been reading comics long enough to know that Marvel always hit this reset button. This is a storyline, and that's all. Morbius, who's getting his own film very soon. Mummy, Werewolf by Night. Yeah, so, sorry, that was issue 12 I just looked at. This is issue 13. Issue 14. Issue 15. Punisher stayed this way for a year. For about 12 issues. Issue 16. And as you can see at this point, you're having the release of Iron Man 2. So this is 2010. 11 years ago. A variant cover for issue 16. I honestly can't remember why they've done these sort of covers, but there you go. Issue 17 with a variant for issue 17. Do you want to see the art inside these? I'll show you. Why not? Don't take a second. Doesn't hurt, does it? So, let me find something that's rather decent looking. Do you know what? It's like I've picked up the wrong issue to show you. It's very dark. Bear with me. So you have, your art is kind of that sort of style. Punisher's Frankenstein-y creature. So at this point, the comic spun off with Wolverine that was at that point titled Dark Wolverine, as in the story sort of like you had to buy a Punisher and you had to buy this. So this is part 1 of Punishment, where he goes back up against the Dark Wolverine or Dakin. That's part 2, which is... Oh, at this point, sorry, obviously you may have noticed, and I didn't say it, I need to step back to issue 17. The comic had a title change from Punisher to Franken-castle. I don't know how I missed that. I knew it was coming, but there you go. But it is still issue 17 of that run. So yes, you had issue part 1 and then part 2 of this crossover. Part 3, which jumped back into Dark Wolverine. And then the 4th part is in Franken-castle, which then brings us to the final part of Franken-castle and the final issue of this series. Let's see, it's got a nice interesting cover, that one, and the art style inside is by the same gentleman, still written by Rick Remender all the way through, Dan Brereton. There's a nice painted that's the Punisher there. This is Franken-castle type thing. But in this, he does manage to make his way back to becoming the Punisher through this magical crystal type thing, if I recall. It's been a while. Still got the Man Thing in there. And, you know, we're done. We're done. So, you have a prologue drawn by a different artist. Weeks pass, and basically you end up seeing the return of Franken-castle. The comic ended there, sort of, because again, that was issue 21, and it was cancelled only to have this advert in the back. Coming in November, Punisher in the Blood by Rick Remender. Yes, so essentially that could have been a continuation of this book, but they wanted to rename it issue 1 again, frustratingly. Now in here I also have an issue of Deadpool 894, which is a team up between Franken-castle and Deadpool. I've got that in this set because it's relevant to that storyline. Yes, so then we saw Punisher in the Blood, issue 1. This was a 5-issue miniseries. That was issue 1. Issue 2. Issue 3. 4. And issue 5. Now, again, with issue 5 of this is essentially a run, the end of that run. There's no advert for the next series, but it wasn't long before the next series made its way out. Sort of art style you have in the interior. Yeah, so that was the end of this run. It was a funny run, or last run and this run. Now, this stuff here, like I said, quite controversial. I didn't like the demon stuff, that was rubbish. But I can't fault this storyline. It's silly. You know, I consider myself a purist for this character, but I understand that the reset button would be hit. But the thing that made this was the writing. This was an extremely well-written storyline, as stupid as it was a whole lot of fun. Yeah, I kept waiting for the next issue and the next issue. It had a great cast of characters, Morbius and Man-Thing and others in it. It's worth checking out. I've actually got the hardback graphic novel for it as well. It's a really good run. Trust me. So anyway, like I was saying about Marvel annoying me at this stage, that's because of the constant, and it still happens now. We'll have a character, we'll run him for 15, 20 issues, cancel to give him another #1. Again, rinse and repeat, because Marvel understands that if you have an issue 1, sales go back up, then sales decline. Give them a new issue 1, bam, sales go back up, and you have this repeating circle of nonsense like that, which is a shame. But yes, so I'm going to leave it at that for this segment of the Punisher. What comes next? That'll be a bit of a surprise, but I will get on to the negative effects of the MCU to the comics, because like I discussed in this video, the MCU is drawing heavily from this era of comic book, the recent era of comic books, which was amazing. Winter Soldier, Civil War, Ragnarok, soon to be, so Planet Hulk. Ragnarok was some time ago. Planet Hulk, soon to be Secret Wars. But yeah, we'll get onto the negative because there is one. But I'm going to leave it at that today. I hope you consider subscribing to the channel. There'll be a lot more content, especially if you're a Punisher fan like myself. Hit the like button, hit the bell, leave me a comment. I'll get back to comments. I'm happy to have a discussion with regards to this character or any Marvel characters. You know, I've read a lot. Yeah, so I'm going to leave you with your evenings, and I hope you have a good one. And I'll see you soon. Take care of yourself. Goodbye, everybody.